Gary Clayton Myers is an American fantasy and horror writer. Born in 1952 in Linwood, California, in circa 1994 he married Jennifer McGilvey Myers, a professional speaker and educator on autism-related topics. His first story, The House of the Worm, was published in 1970 in the Arkham Collector. His first book was the 1975 collection, The House of the Worm, published by Arkham House, which we shall be reviewing today. The House of the Worm is the story of an old ruinous house, built between pillars that were ancient ere men ever crawled from the slime of abysmal seas, by the old man of whom no one likes to speak, one day when he went white-haired and insane from what he saw during the night in the presence of those pillars, where he would later build his house and resided there alone for 100 years. And then he began to host banquets in his house, and for 50 years the memory of these were a thing of terror, though only a single man lived who was present at their termination, and he was mad. On the last banquet, only 3 of the guests dare return, and the old man takes a light and descends with them into the cellars to a strange pit from which rises a strange inhuman piping. York the necromancer has York, ostensibly a clerk living in the Street of the Frogs, yet one who refuses to eat like other men, despite his obesity, who comes to Vornai the same day the 3 madmen escape from the House of the Worm, advocating the destruction of the house and of the ancient pillars for his own ends. The people, of course, don't wish to mess with these things, but he laughs and sneaks into the house and calls something. He assumes he failed because he can't see anything, but seems unaware that what one summons may not always be visible. In Surn, Thish the Robber goes to the ill-reputed house of Scar the Witch. He had murdered enough jewelers to become aware of the legend of the great gem kept in Mhor, in the great tower held by sinister Xurn. But his mistake when seeking to steal a protective amulet from the skull-faced priests of Yath was to cheat the witch Scar of her payment. Passing of a Dreamer tells the story of the hidden door in Ulthar, housing the horrid idol of the Keeper of Dreams, and of the horrible fate of Snireth-Ko when the idol deems to give him all he wishes for a nameless fee. The Return of Zosp is the story of a corpse of a Taumaturg picked clean by carrion birds, given special attention by Snerd to uncover the terrible living brain inside the hollow skull. The Free Enchantments tells of old Lear when still an apprentice, his strange discovery of a silver sphere on the beach, and the horrible fate of his master the Rugmaker, which extended far beyond death. Hazut Clegg is a story of dark sacrifices, ancient horrid mysteries, and the terrible fate which befell Matthew Phillips in his home and Providence. In The Loot of Golfot, 3 thieves come to the desert of Kuparnombo to try and steal the ancient wealth of the city, whose entire population abandoned it 4,000 years ago, at once screaming, "Surely this will go well." The 4 sealed jars has Wesh find himself in a quaint curio shop, but then the dealer rushes him into a back room with 4 mysterious jars, and starts working on their padlocks. And yet he buys anyway. The Maker of Gods concerns an idol fashioned long ago by Yagvo, when the dread idol of Stood, whose priesthood existed solely to prevent people from praying to him, so that his 5 million-year-long sleep would not be interrupted and he would not decide to make a miracle, is destroyed, and his priests sent for Yagvo to replace it. These stories have that quality of terror and dark fantasy which abound in Lovecraft's Dreamland stories, which are a bit unfairly neglected in my opinion. The stories are well written, though reading them all in a row may be a bit repetitive.